who wanted to help improve our public schools.
Through donors' choose, ordinary citizens can...
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a roll call, please.
Mr. Corman?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Zwicker?
Here.
Ms. Breyer?
Here.
Mr. Prince?
Here.
Mr. Person?
Here.
Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor. All present.
Thank you, Bonnie. First item on the agenda is a proclamation for Arbor Day, Earth Day. Terry? Oh, I guess we're going to present it to you, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bonnie. Here you have it. You ready to read it?
Proclamation. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees called Arbor Day, which is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas the city of Renton has been recognized as a Tree City USA since 2008 by the Arbor Day Foundation, and whereas trees reduce soil erosion, produce life-giving oxygen, increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business districts, improve wildlife and fish habitats, and contribute to many other benefits. And whereas in 1970, Senator Gaylord Nelson introduced legislation designating a day in April as a national day to celebrate the Earth and call it Earth Day. And whereas volunteers from neighborhoods, schools, businesses, and service clubs will help the City of Renton celebrate Arbor Day and Earth Day on Saturday, April 27th, by planting native trees and shrubs in the Kennydale neighborhood to restore and beautify the urban forest at the new May Creek Trail site. Now therefore I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2013 to be Arbor Day, Earth Day in the City of Renton, and I encourage all citizens to join me in this special observance. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 8th day of April 2013, signed Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Breyer.
I move that council concur with this proclamation.
Second. It's been moved by Ms. Breyer, seconded by Mr. Corman, that council concur with this proclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And
Mr.
now-
Mayor?
Oh, yes.
Can I just show off?
Well, I'm going to let...
They're going to
Terry
show off.
Phillips
Okay.
show it off.
Somebody else will show off. All right. If I fan it out, everybody will see 3 pictures.
That's just neat.
Oh. Oh. This is very cool. Oh.
Don't need it.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members, and thank you for your support for Arbor Day and Earth Day, as well as the Renton Community Services Urban Forestry Program. In your baskets, you'll find a present for Arbor Day, Earth Day. Fairly appropriate, I'd say. It's a Fandex guide for trees. And when I'm done with my presentation, I want to give you a short test. So you have to find out what the common name is for Acer rubrum.
This may take a couple days.
What did you say again? Asa? What was it?
Acer rubrum.
Lubra? What guy? Ohio?
Rubrum. R-U-B-R-U-M.
Okay.
No cheating.
Close. I know. Probably the last.
got it?
Red maple.
Very good.
Oh.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Renton's 8th annual Arbor Day Earth Day observance, and it's also Renton's 5th Tree City USA award year. Arbor Day Earth Day this year is on Saturday, April 27th, 2013. The registration begins at 9 o'clock. The location of the Arbor Day Earth Day project, on this map you can see in red, that's the specific site we're going to be working at. Kind of dialing into the location, it's in North Renton. It's across from the old Barbie Mill site, and It's just south of the former Panabode site and 44th Street North. There'll be signs along the way when you get there that'll direct you to the parking. We're parking at the Panabode site and using their property for staging the celebration. The actual site itself came about in 2009 when the Community and Economic Development Department secured a direct appropriation from the Washington State Legislature, and part of that funding was the acquisition of a 3-acre site on the north bank of May Creek. May Creek, if you can see this arrow, kind of runs through here. This is the project site, and so between the creek and the project site, there's another piece of land. And as this plan will show you in detail, the yellow area is the area that we're going to be working on for Arbor Day, Earth Day, and the area to the south looks like it has a whole bunch of plants in it already. Well, it does. That was recently planted in January, and that was part of the funding appropriation as well as using King County levy funds. Todd Black and Leslie Betlock were responsible for design and installation of the landscaping that's in there right now. If you've been out on that site at all, there's a soft surface trail. There's some really nice signage that describes what the site used to be. Some salmon habitat information as well, and some seating benches also. The yellow area, I don't know if you're out there before it got cleared, but it was full of blackberries. I mean, it was really thick. You couldn't even walk through it. So that's our site for Arbor Day, Earth Day. And it's about an acre site. We plan on planting 97 trees and about 1,400 shrubs using our great volunteer forces that come out. Another grant that we got at this site was with the Washington State Department of Natural Resources, and it was a urban forestry restoration grant. And that grant allowed us to use Washington Conservation Corps workers for free. And so they spent 3 weeks out there, about $15,000 worth of labor and value, and they dug out all that blackberry by hand on 1 acre. The picture on the left, you can see, you can barely see them. There's a couple of yellow caps right here, and of course on the right-hand side is the after picture after they were done cleaning that site. Other work that occurred out there included removal of hazard trees that were in the area, as well as a number of trees that were knocking down the fence between the two properties. And the park crews went out last week, and you can see in this right-hand picture they installed temporary irrigation in preparation for the plantings. This is what the project looks like today on the south side of that path, and we hope that the north side of the path looks just like it. We're requesting volunteers, like we do every year. We get about 150 volunteers, and they come out prepared with their work boots and gloves and ready to do some hard work. If you're interested in becoming a volunteer, you can pre-register by calling 425-430-6600, or you can go online, type in volunteer in the search box, and it'll take you to the volunteer webpage, and there's all the information there for registering, and you can also register the day of the event. Again, Arbor Day, Earth Day, Saturday, April 27th, May Creek Trail. Registration is at 9. We have our celebration at 9:30 where we receive the Tree City USA Award. Planting begins at 10, and there's a great lunch at noon. So we hope to see you all out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Council members have any questions of Terry? Anything about trees? Because
Mr.
there's
Mayor?
nobody that knows more about
Yeah.
trees than Terry. Yes, Mr. Corman.
Well, I just wanted to say that this year, more than most, as I was driving around our streets during the time when blossoms come out, I'm really starting to appreciate a lot of the work you've done in the street trees. And I know a lot of them have been replaced, but as the ones are really starting to mature and to break out with new blooms, it is really impressive. So thank you for all that good work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry. Okay, and now we have another couple of very good presentations from our Fire and Emergency Services. The first is the Renton Heart Month wrap-up. Chief Peterson.
Members of the council, it pleases me to come here tonight before you, Mark Peterson, Fire Chief, to wrap up Heart Month this year and the success that we had with Heart Month. And to give you the presentation, I'd like to introduce Captain Doug McDonald, who is the project manager. However, Doug had a whole team of people working with him in order to make this successful, not only within the fire department, but outside in other city departments. So with that, Doug?
All right. All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, community. Again, my name is Doug McDonald, and it's my honor to wrap up the 2013 Heart Month campaign. 2013, actually in the middle of 2012, we met as a committee, group of people got together and tried to come up with a unique change to kind of our vision for 2013. We came up with a prescription for health. Conceptually, we want people to understand and know their blood pressure and blood sugar level numbers. But we also wanted to give them this year another opportunity to go out and find locations in the greater Renton community on where they could get healthier, go out, walk, run, swim. And so with the help of the communications department, within members of the fire department, we came up and developed a prescription pad for health, and each person throughout the Heart Month campaign that we came into contact with was given this sheet of paper that had information, websites, contacts on where to find these local places to get healthier, to work out, to exercise, and to enjoy Renton. So again, we coined the phrase 2013 a prescription for health. Heart Month is a special award-winning campaign. In 2009, we won the National Community Service Award for this program. We're really proud of it as an organization, and I know as a city. It's praised by state and county medical officials. King County EMS is just looking at it and going, wow, how do you folks do it? So other cities around the area have started to do something similar. They're doing like Heart Weeks as we're doing Heart Month. So we are absolutely the leader in this. And this is our largest public education effort that the City of Renton Fire Department, Fire and Emergency Services Department participates in. Our vision, 2013, was to reach as diverse a population as possible and to embrace the opportunity to interact with local businesses with the vision of enhancing their employees' health and well-being. In the past, we've gone out and really looked at interacting with the community, and we did that this year, but we added to it. We went out to our businesses also to make sure that we could get in and hopefully make their employees healthier, better workers, and feel better about themselves and their employer. Remarkably, we had great success with the businesses out there in working with us to get in and get their employees tested. Again, we've always had a great relationship, and we've continued our great relationship embracing the diversity of Renton with St. Anthony's, DK Market, the Church of Grace, the Ukrainian population, the Sikh Temple, and many more. But these were some of our major events where we're dealing with 200 and 300 people at a time, doing blood pressure, blood sugars, meeting with them, speaking with them. Great opportunity for our firefighters, our public service agencies to go out and meet our public. It was an outstanding event, and we look to continually support and work with these organizations. Like I said, we also went out and got in with our businesses, and as you can see, these are just a few of the businesses that we went in and involved ourselves with actively. Far West Steel, 100+ employees. Their employer just said, line them all up, bring them in. We're not going to charge. You know, it's on our bill. We're going to get these people tested, and we had just great representation and great opportunity. We really wanted to focus on getting into the schools this year. That was one of our stipulations we talked about the previous year, was getting in there, and we got in and we were dealing with the teachers, with the students, middle school, elementary. It was great. As you'll see in some of your packet information, we found children as young as 4 years old with blood sugar related issues. Catching that this early, we've made a difference in those children's lives, absolutely. So I really want to focus. We could not have done this and do this program to the extent that we do without the help of the University of Washington Medicine and Valley Medical Center. The staff they provided, the nurses, the doctors, the ability to speak the languages out there that some of our fire we don't speak. It was outstanding, really, to be able to get the message across to the people that needed it the most. And so Valley Medical Center was absolutely outstanding, and we look to really grow that relationship even more in the future. Again, this year we had we had a great opportunity to continue our relationship with Kind Bars. They gave us 2,000 bars, significant, to hand out to the citizens as an alternative to a candy bar. It was great. Starbucks we put up there, the Starbucks Grady provided us 2 baristas, hot chocolate, coffee, tea for over 300 people for free to really make an event out of the St. Anthony's Heart Month event. And it kept people there. It allowed us to test them. We tested them before they drank their hot chocolate and such like that. But it was still a great event. So I really want to thank those 2 sponsors along with many more. But they stepped up, and multiple years it's been outstanding support from both of them. Getting to some numbers, this is what's really impressive. Over the last 8 years, we've tested over 45,000 people. 45,300 have received screenings. Of those 45,300, you can see 6,459 people were given a risk assessment for high blood pressure, and over 2,000 for high blood sugar. Just this year, 8,334 people were tested, 1,259 with high blood pressure, and 300 with high blood sugar. Those are remarkable numbers. That's about 20% of the people that we screened this year had a risk of one or the other or both. So making them aware of that, helping them get in the direction of getting some help, significant with the health costs and everything. We need to focus on this and continue to do this to help the people understand their numbers and how important it is.
Right.
Sorry, I'm a little. Again, like I said, in the last 8 years, 19% of the people that we tested were given alerts, 20% this year. Kind of an interesting technique, and I apologize, the light's kind of glaring that out for everybody, but men in their 40s and women in their 50s were the ones that received the highest amount of blood pressure alerts this year, and women in their 50s and men in their 60s received the highest amount of blood sugar alerts. And so we've broken that down and really tried to figure out what we can do to help those specific ages with their blood pressure and blood sugar related issues. I want to focus on this a little bit. I want to really give our communications department here in the city really a round of applause. Kelly and Preeti and everybody did an outstanding job of getting us the really high quality information to get out there, let people know where we're going to be. They did it. They were able to convert it into Spanish, Ukrainian with the help of University or UW Valley Medical Center. Made our outstanding Heart Month cards, and you could see people interacting throughout the public with our crews, and it was just an outstanding event. But really kudos to our communications department for an outstanding job. Again, our crews really connected with our citizens this year. Throughout the last 8 years, it's been really fun, and for them to understand that this is such a great opportunity to go out and meet our public, meet the people, our stakeholders, the people, our customers. And this year I just received good comments over and over, how fun it was, how much enjoyment the cruise. It was a lot of work, but it absolutely paid off, especially when we start talking about the 4-year-olds and the 6-year-olds that we find. Yeah. That is just amazing. So again, our crew is really connected with the citizens this year. You know, we've already started planning for next year. You know, 2014 is already in the planning stages. Committee, we're looking at ways that we can enhance this program, evaluate it. Maybe we don't want to do a month all at once. We want to do a week. We're looking at all sorts of different options out there, but we want to enhance this program and make it even better than it has been. I really want to break that 50,000 mark, which we'll definitely do next year. So. Again, in closing, I just want to say thank you for the continued support of the Renton Heart Month with the Renton Fire Emergency Services Department. Your fire department's honored to serve the citizens and do this program, and we look forward to doing it in the future. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time this evening.
Well, Doug, I want to personally thank you and Chief Peterson and every one of our firefighters. I mean, during February, you couldn't go anywhere in the city and not see the enthusiasm and commitment of our firefighters working with the citizens, and to note that you made a difference in 8,500 people's lives. That's a big, big deal. So I know I speak for the council when I say we appreciate that big time. Any questions or comments from council?
Job.
Yeah, way to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doug.
members of the council, it really pleases me to bring two gentlemen here tonight that made a difference. And one of those gentlemen is Micah Hackett. Could you please step forward? And I want to say, without Micah's involvement tonight, Chris would not be here with us. You can go ahead and stand up, Chris. This is kind of a very happy story with a happy ending, or a sad story in the beginning, but a happy ending. So Micah and Chris were at LA Fitness on March 30th, though in two separate areas of the gymnasium. On March 30th at LA Fitness at the landing, Mr. Christopher May collapsed on the racquetball court. Mr. Micah Hackett was working out at the gym and heard the commotion. He responded immediately using a public access defibrillator, initiated CPR, attached a defibrillator, and applied 2 defibrillating shocks to Christopher. This action kept Christopher's heart viable, so the aid crew and medics' efforts had a much greater chance. That's one reason why King County enjoys a 52% save rate in the whole wide world. That's because of people getting involved like Micah here. Really gave Chris a chance. Thanks to Micah's efforts, Chris survived the incident and is here this evening with his wife Suzanne, daughter Abigail, who is 12, and son Joshua, who is 10, to also recognize and express their gratitude for Micah saving his life. Micah, I'd just like to say thank you for getting involved. It really paid off. I know Chris is really appreciative of it.
Welcome.
Us as the department are really appreciative of it.
Thank you.
If it pleases members of the council, may we have a picture up front?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you can hold down. You like your wife?
Cameras.
Family.
Right there. Big smiles for me right at me. And put one more. All right, my turn real quick. Ready? All right, if I can't see you can't see the ones that can't see you. Ready? One more just for this. Thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
maybe we could be sure that the families get pictures that were taken by us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did want one postscript here. Micah was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps on February 13th of this year. In addition to his heroic actions with Christopher, I'd also like to thank him for his service to our country.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Okay,
That was nice.
looks like we have a mass exodus. I just wanted to mention we have lots of seats in the front here for anybody who's standing. Okay, moving on to administrative report.
I
Mr.
have absolutely nothing that could
Good thought, Good thinking, Mr. Covington. So next is audience comment, and we have a number of people signed up to talk about the library. When I call your name, please come to the podium, give your name and city of residence for the record, and you have 5 minutes to address the council. Timer is right next to the city clerk. First is Cheryl Boudreau. Did I pronounce that correctly? Is Cheryl here?
You either pronounced it very wrong.
Really wrong? Or... Okay, moving on to Julie Abraham.
name is Julie Abraham, A-B-R-A-H-A-M. I am from Renton, and I have a few things I want brought up. You did bring up that the library is not the original design now, and that's true. It was improved, and it was improved well. The changes that are proposed, we don't see, many of us do not see those as improvements. We feel that the library is being condensed and will be kind of a former shell, a smaller shell as to what it was. And that's not what we want. If it's going to be changed, we want it to be improved. And plus, with everything being smaller, how is it going to fit all these wonderful things that the KCLS has to offer? Everything will have to be condensed still. And another thing that I'm worried about is the changes of the library. There's going to be a lot of debris that falls. How is it going to affect the river? You know, I understand that there will be a net that'll catch the big stuff. It's not going to catch dust. It's not going to catch the little things. A lot of stuff's going to fall through that our wildlife does not need. And also, largely the people of Renton feel that KCLS has just not behaved in good faith from the get-go since the annexation. First off, they destroyed a whole bunch of books, a lot of irreplaceable, timeless classics, hundreds. They didn't just get rid of them, they destroyed them, ripped them up, put them in the bin. And there's been some kind of talk about it, kind of legal issues about publishers not wanting them to sell it. No, books have been sold and donated before from libraries. Also, you know, there's the same pushback that we had before when there was the talk of moving the library to the Big 5 area. We wanted it put to a vote. And there was such a pushback against having it put to a vote. And there's the same pushback about the de-annexation. You talk about these throngs of people who come to you, you know, so upset about the de-annexation. If they're so upset, let them vote about it. Let both sides vote about it. Listen to the people. Don't just say, these are the plans, they can't be changed. Ask us if they can be changed. You know, we're the people, we put you here. We've got other opinions too. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carrick Mainrender.
Good evening. Carrick Mainrender, Renton, M-A-I-N-R-E-N-D-E-R. First, I want to start with kind of an extension of an analogy that Taylor put up a while back. Suppose you got bad teeth, problems with your teeth, and you go to the dentist. The dentist says, well, okay, I'll fix your teeth, but I got to cut off your ears and your nose to make you look like everybody else because your ears and your nose are too big. I think you'd find a different dentist. I know I would. Conformity is overrated. That lady who spoke first last week, she talked about her town, I forget just where it was, how they shrank their library and she was just fine with that. Her town is not ours. We don't need a smaller library. Our library is not dark, like she said, it's not hard to find. I had no trouble finding it. As a matter of fact, the first time I ever found it, I wasn't even looking for it. It was a surprise. I could hardly believe what I was seeing, in fact. And and I'd like it to stay that way in all of its splendor, full size. All the wonderful stuff that KCLS has to offer that has been talked about, all that stuff needs to be here, not stashed away in a warehouse somewhere. A case in point, there is an old book from the 30s, and it was a historical thing. It was pretty hokey, but it was kind of interesting. I once caught it, checked it out from here. Now I had to go get it from Seattle because Seattle was able to pull it out of their stacks right away, out of their back room, and hand it to me when I went there. If I'd ordered it from KCLS, they would have had to haul it in from their warehouse. Now, we got room on our shelves for our Northwest stuff, which shouldn't be stashed away. Okay, and services. People are talking about the services. Some services are good. I like being able to get free printing, sure. But I don't like books being gone and hard to reach. And finally, you say that they're not bullying you. Well, that's nice. I feel that they are bullying us because they aren't listening to us. They ask for our input, it all goes down the black hole. A partnership is supposed to be two-way. If there's problems, there should be a compromise by each side. But here, it's us that has to do all the giving, and they just go rush through and just have their way and everything, don't listen to us. That isn't right. And it seems to me that that's bullying. And if they aren't doing it to you, they're sure doing it to us, and it needs to stop. Basically, can this marriage be saved? Maybe, but it's going to need some counseling, and that's something you folks can help with. You can, whatever. Yeah. I wouldn't like to de-annex either, but it's, we need to have them listen to us. Maybe next week they'll present a plan that we can look at without losing our lunch. Just maybe. I hope so. It's worth a try, but we mustn't let up on them. We got to hold them to their talk of meeting our needs and being so darn great. And last of all, a while back somebody mentioned North Korea being a source of anxiety. Well, that's a little bit of a red herring for this discussion, but I'm going to re-bring it up anyway because it has just occurred to me that if anybody is that worried about North Korea, why, we can just all point our smart meters at them. Thank you.
Next is Alexis Madison.
Alexis Madison, citizen of Renton, M-A-D-I-S-O-N. I'll keep this short and sweet. I've watched many council meetings on TV, but I have never felt compelled to appear here in person to speak until recently, as I've been hearing the anti-KCLS people trying to prove they represent the majority of Renton by constantly pointing to the fact that most of the audience comments at council meetings are from citizens who are displeased with KCLS. Well, guess what? I feel pretty confident that there are a lot of people like me who are thrilled with the services KCLS is providing, but we're not going to show up week after week to say so. De-annexing from KCLS would be a huge mistake, and frankly, I can't believe it's even on the table. One last thing, week after week I've watched 4 particular council members take a lot of abuse. I've seen their integrity and loyalty questioned, and accusations ranging from absurd to offensive. So let me perhaps be the first to say, with regards to the library fiasco, council members Breyer, Person, Prince, and Zwicker, a thank you for being the voices of reason and for the difficult decisions you've made in the face of hostility. I have no doubt you will make the responsible, reasonable decision tonight, and it is my hope that other council colleagues will join you. I appreciated Mayor Law's column last week and agree wholeheartedly. It is time to move on. Let's allow KCLS to build us the best possible library. Please vote not to de-annex from KCLS.
Thank you. Next is Richard Bray.
Good evening. My name is Richard Bray, B-R-A-Y, and I live here in Renton. Again, good evening, Mayor Law, council members, city staff, audience members, and you watching at home. I, too, am here to talk about our wonderful Cedar River Library. And I want to talk about Mayor Law, who had a questionable commentary in this Friday's Renton Reporter newspaper, where he referred to a small anti-KCLS group. Mayor Law, with all due respect, the only small group on the library is the one that you are part of. You complained of the time you've spent on the library, yet your actions have caused this citizen action because you have refused to listen to your residents on the library. First, Mayor Law said it was just a small group. Then that small group and 8,000 people signed a petition for the right for all residents to vote to save our beloved Cedar River Library. When our mayor and others didn't initially want to honor that petition, Como TV's Ken Schramm gave our city government a Schrammy Award for not listening to its citizens. Then Mayor Lodge said it was only a small vocal group who wanted to keep the Cedar River Library. Yes, the old Big Five site was the place for Renton's future. Well, the small group and 76% of Renton voters said, that's crazy. The Cedar River Library is the best location in the nation. Now Mayor Law says that a small group is fighting against KCLS's wonderful plan that demolishes major parts of our iconic library. And again, he bemoans such reactions, saying it doesn't reflect the majority of people. Why? Because one person told him so, as he said in his opinion piece. There is only one small group on the library issue. The mayor and those that would allow the destruction of our one-of-a-kind library. Don't deny our children and our grandkids the right to enjoy the size and character of this special place. Please stop the confrontation. Start the collaboration. Think of your legacy, Mayor Law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Beth Asher.
Will this picture show up, Jake? Okay. If I just stick it there, will it work? You would think I'm used to these presentation devices, but I'm not sure how this particular one. I'm used to a flash drive.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
while we're waiting,
Thank
just
you.
for the record, we never did get the Schrammy from Ken Schramm, and I've asked to get Jesse to look into that.
He's no longer with Como, so I don't know that we can get it.
I don't know what the luck is.
Go ahead, Beth.
Okay, thank you. Beth Asher, Renton resident, of course. And again, I'm here to talk about size, and I'm also here to talk about process and communication. And I think there's a misapprehension about those of us who come and speak, and about the people that say, hey, somebody's looking out for us, somebody's looking out for our library. Hey, we like KCLS, but the process is broken. How can we fix the process? Hey, we love the library, it's huge. And we want to have every service KCLS can give us, and we want that space so we can have it all, because we're greedy. We're greedy in Renton, we're growing, and we want more, not less. So what I want to talk about first is the size of the turnout we had. It was all ages, all economic strata, upwards of 250 people at that library presentation. Now, the indication that the process is broken is that we were asked to go to a whiteboard scramble. 3/4 of the people did not feel that was appropriate when they had asked for a question and answer session. So they stayed patiently in their seats, waiting for the question and answer session, which of course was extremely shortened because we had to have the whiteboard scramble anyway. Throughout the process, it seems to me that the communication has been lacking. What we are not against is change. Change is not a bad thing. And again, as I say, we want more. We want everything KCLS has to give, but I don't think it's going to fit in a shrunken, tiny little space. We've got a huge space, let's use it all. What people have consistently said they wanted is all that square footage and the entrance, which is connected to nature on the river. Those seem to me to be two things easy to give, and it seems to me that as vaunted a design team as KCLS's should be able to provide that and should welcome it as a challenge to give us more, not to give us less. But again, the communication is not there, and residents feel this deeply, and we have felt it all along. And I would like to say, grab the other end of the stick again. What if the other end of the stick is, there are a lot of people out there who don't come forward, yes, but they don't because they see us coming forward for them. There may be other people who disagree with me, yes, and that's good. It's a participatory process. We can all participate. But again, we can't do that without communication. Communication with KCLS is lacking. It's been one-sided. The process is broken. We need to fix the process. And I would say use every tool in your armory to do that. Use every lever you've got. You're right, Mr. Person, we've got the purse strings, right? And we've also got the veto. If they bring something to the table that's obviously one-sided, pie in the sky, the most expensive solutions ever given, and is unacceptable, say no. Go back to the design board. If they bring something that's the same design but a little bit cobbled, say no. Go back. This isn't what our residents wanted. We want reconstruction, not deconstruction. That is what we want. And I have one special person who said she'd like to make a comment. Danielle? She is a future voter, and she would like to tell you something.
Can you please give us a big library?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Larry Brosman.
Hello, I'm Larry Brosman, and I live in Renton. My last name is spelled B as in Bravo, R-O-S as in Sam, M-A-N. And Mayor Law, council members, and city staff, and public, thank you very much for letting me have this opportunity to this evening. I wave the same flag as many, many people as you've heard. I want the library's square footage the same as it is, and the beautiful entrance kept where it is. And you've heard this again and again. And tonight, at the Committee of the Whole meeting, there was a presentation about the service, the commended service of King County Library System. Well, if you went to a restaurant, they gave you perfect food, but they never spoke to your comments. Maybe less salt, maybe more veggies, less veggies, whatever you wanted at the restaurant. They gave you perfect food, but they never responded to what you asked for. How would you consider their service? I don't think you'd go there again. I think you'd go to another restaurant where actually people heard you and you felt they heard you. And we don't feel that King County Library System is hearing us. And also, regarding the Committee of the Whole presentation, the comparison between Renton 2 libraries and King County 48 libraries or so, well, the services of all the libraries, I believe, were presented. Not just the ones of Renton's 2 libraries. Apples and oranges were compared, not oranges and oranges. So that's something that needs to be compared. You know, Ohio has a beautiful city capital, I'm sure, but not many of us are going to go there to see it. So we need to think about locally, about what's going on in our fair town at the time. Also, too, why close out an alternative? Why take any talk of de-annexation, as was talked about in the Committee of the Whole? Why take that off the table until after we've seen this final schematic design? Why close out an alternative? Why limit our options? You folks in the city council have the responsibility and the privilege to say what we want to say. And I believe most of what we want to say is, don't limit our options about de-annexation. And it's not a ballot measure because it's not on the ballot yet, so it's legal to talk about. I do thank you for the opportunity. I do think that most City of Renton's residents do want the same square footage and they want the same entryway. I don't believe I've heard one person come up here and say, oh, I like the small library. I like to change entryway. I don't think you've heard that. I think you've heard quite the opposite. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Judy Tabak.
Judy Tabak, Renton, Washington, TABAK. I think what bothers me most about the money leaving the city is the $5 million that won't be staying in Renton. $5 million for 3 years, $15 million. And last week I reported my question to KCL's head, Mr. Ptacek, if we did de-annex from KCLS, would we still be able to have the reciprocal agreement that we once had? And he said not necessarily, so he didn't say absolutely not. But if they refuse to do the reciprocal agreement, I wonder if that would even be legal. And as Randy said, I don't think KCLS would want this discussed publicly. I understand the complication of Renton and Benson and Cascade, but is KCLS going to build a library in that area? I wonder if glass buildings with all the glass, are they really energy efficient? I'm not sure. Maybe it's a special kind of glass. And in the ILA, it did recommend 60,000 square feet for Renton. So we're not getting 60,000 right now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Covington, it looks like you wanted to answer a couple comments.
I'm not sure there were.
I know.
A couple of questions raised that I don't know that were accurate. And the last one, I recall the master plan in 2007 suggested that a main library would be 60,000 square feet. I don't recall in our ILA that we had the 60,000 square foot, but
no, we didn't. But
it might have just been a misunderstanding.
I think it was just the master plan. Okay, thank you. Next is John Hansen.
John Hansen, Hansen. I live up in the Renton Highlands area. Have lived in Renton for about 37 years. I was one of the people who voted to retain the library where it is over the City River. Really, the sole reason why I did that is because some time ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when this was started to transpire, the city sent out some notices, I think they were in utility bills or something like that, that said that, well, we wanted to form a committee to figure out what to do with the old library building because we were moving to the Big Five. And so I immediately, wait a minute, so this building is still serviceable because we're going to use it for something? Okay, so I didn't really feel that the Big Five location was really a good place, and many of my friends around the Renton area they just hesitate to take their families down there. Just at this point, it isn't kind of an area they want to go to. But I've had a chance to look at the under support structure and the superstructure of the library, and I don't think that building is earthquake safe. I believe that's more or less what the architect said at a meeting a couple weeks ago. It appears to me the superstructure is in danger of collapse if there is a substantial earthquake. The library has a number of columns that extended to the riverbed. The library is essentially a bridge. It's built as a bridge. And today, if you build a bridge over a river the size of the Cedar River, you do not put columns into the riverbed. You just don't do it anymore. You have supporting members that extend from river edge to river edge, and you build your whatever structure, road or library, whatever, on top of that. So I'm wondering if we have considered removing those, doing a modification in such a way to remove those columns from the riverbed for earthquake safeness. Those columns probably don't have a lot of lateral support. They're probably vulnerable in an earthquake, as is the superstructure. Years ago, when the river was at flood stage, I think this is 1980s, a long time ago, I was down there watching the flood, just as, you know, hey, it's kind of exciting to see the floodwaters and stuff. Probably real exciting for the people that were living nearby, but I saw things like a 5-foot diameter tree stump come floating down the river, you know, at velocity like 6 or 7 miles an hour, and banging into the library. That whole library building shook. And so I watched a couple of these things, and whoa. I went into the library, and that whole library building was vibrating with the water. And I recalled that, you know, as I was thinking back over how safe is that building, I was recalling that. And I thought, so I would just like us to think about revising the under supporting structure of that library. Also, frankly, the area around the Liberty Park and where the library is, this is not high-rise territory. This is not real firm soil. I think there's been some discussion of the soil tests and such. The old city hall building that's now used as an office building, I think we need to look at, well, how safe is that? If there's, you know, this earthquake or even flood waters come out of the river and start to undercut the base of that building, is that really safe there? So overall, I would like us to slow down on this process of jumping into library renovations and just step back and say, how much money do we want to spend? We may spend, I heard something like $1.5 million. It may be wise to spend more than that, and look at the overall safety of the area and what kind of services we want to provide there. I've heard people mention things like one of the issues is where is the entrance. To me, that's, you know, I'm glad that people are concerned about that, but that's not really where I'm centering on. I'm centering on what money, I'm looking at my taxes going into that, how much we're going to spend, what kind of services we're going to provide, and how safe is it going to be. So just overall, I'd like us to slow down on this and look at it carefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next is Dave Beeden.
I'm Dave Beeden. I live in Renton. My last name is B-E-E-D-O-N. Just a couple of quick thoughts. I was really confused when I found out that one purpose of the committee of the whole meeting was to take a vote on whether or not to do something about de-annexation. I thought it was just going to be a general discussion, a beginning discussion to find out what the implications would be. So I don't know why anybody would even want to take a vote now. And as was mentioned in that meeting, that's especially true when KCLS is coming back to the council in a week or two, whenever that is, with their latest design. It just seemed logical to me to wait at least that long before any kind of vote is taken. Much has been talked about the level of service provided by KCLS, and I like the service that I get from KCLS. I don't go there very often, but I find it convenient to be able to look up books online, reserve them online, and tell the system where I want to pick it up. That's great. But I also like, very much, strolling through the aisles, the shelves, and looking at the titles and thinking, that looks interesting. But with fewer titles, that's harder to do. And with KCLS, we have fewer titles on the shelves. As for de-annexation, I don't like the idea. I'm not promoting it. And I think my personal feeling is that people have brought this up not as a way to threaten KCLS, but out of a sense of desperation, because we've kind of run out of other options. We come here week after week and bombard you folks with all these complaints and ideas and suggestions. And the reason we do that is because every time KCLS says something, it completely ignores what we've been saying we would like them to do. I mean, completely ignore. That open house was a good case in point. They knew very well what we wanted, or what we would like to have in the building. Now, I don't mind a glass box. I don't mind modernizing. But what I do mind is when there's a public process and the people who are supposedly serving us don't even give us the respect to say, okay, if you want X, this is what it will cost. And compare that to what the budget will allow. I don't know, just something's lacking there. And others have said that process of communication has been a real problem, and I have to agree. And we've heard in the meetings that the city administration is passing all our concerns on to KCLS, but when KCLS comes back and keeps giving us the same old garbage, we have to wonder, are they listening, or what information is going there? It's frustrating. I don't know if I said that, but I don't want to de-annex, just to de-annex, to get people riled up or to get revenge or anything like that, because it'd be a painful process, time-consuming. I don't know what the expenses would be, but I have the feeling it wouldn't be as expensive as some people would like to make it out. And one thing I haven't seen so far is a comparison, a financial comparison of what it cost the city to operate its 2 libraries before we de-annexed versus what it costs now to pay KCLS to operate them. And I think that's a real important concern, because in any talk about money, we got to know where we stand right now. The notion of process came up in these discussions, and what I've said already kind of falls into that category. The process of communication from the residents to you, to KCLS, there's a weak link in there somewhere, and I think it's over there in Issaquah. I can't think of any logical reason why an organization that's supposedly serving its citizens continually insults its citizens, its residents, its customers, with designs such as they brought back at the open house. I'm not saying it was a bad design per se. It may have been, in engineering terms, a brilliant design. And maybe people did get really excited about this way of solving an engineering problem, but I don't care about that. I care about my problem. I mean, it's good that engineering problems are solved, but the human problems are important too. So, thank you for letting me speak. I enjoyed listening to the presentation at the Committee of the Whole, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, council, is the consent agenda. We have 4 items for your consideration. Are there any items the council member would like pulled for discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to pull item B.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corman.
I move approval of the consent agenda minus item B.
Second. It's been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Mr. Zwicker, that council concur with the consent agenda minus item B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Ms. Palmer.
Yes, item B is the award of bid opening for the airport's taxiway B system rehabilitation. And I would just like it to go council concur. There aren't any other options. I think the reason they wanted to bring it to committee was there was a slight irregularity in the first bidder that was awarded this, they found out there was significant irregularities, and it about doubled the cost and was double what the engineering estimate, so they went with the second one. So I just move that we approve.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Palmer, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council make a council concur item B on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
Marcy, when I just get a little pause of why we're rushing it when I'm looking at refer to transportation to discuss irregularities, and that sounds like I kind of would like transportation to discuss those irregularities with staff to make sure I have 3 council members vetting that. Is there a reason why we're moving it quicker?
Yes, the airport staff would like to get moving on it. I won't be here on Thursday, so it would mean moving it to a later date. If Greg and Dawn want to meet.
Well, what I'm hearing is the transportation chair is comfortable with what's happening with this.
Yes.
Pardon me. I don't know about the other members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. President.
I reviewed this, and I'm very comfortable with it. It's just some minor mathematical things, and basically what it is that the first high bidder, when you added up the numbers, it came to 11 million instead of 5. This bidder is in the 5 million, and he made one $400 addition mistake, and the city attorney's office has reviewed it and said it's well within legal and won't cause us any problems. And we only have the guy that wants to charge us 11 million, or we got a guy that wants to charge us 5 million. I'll take the 5 million every day.
That addresses my concerns.
Yes, and I don't have any concerns with it either.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve this as a council concur item. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Right immediately prior to this meeting, we had a committee of the whole, and we did talk about potential King County library system de-annexation. And as an outcome of that discussion, I would simply like to move that we pull Resolution A and discontinue further consideration on that resolution.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that we pull Resolution A and any other consideration of the de-annexation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
So what does that mean? So the resolution isn't going to be read without another motion to get it read. Is that correct? That is what I was told earlier, I believe.
But pulling it from the agenda, it would take, I guess, staff or council action to put it back on the agenda.
So what happens if Mr. Corman's motion fails, which is now our council motion, since it's been moved and seconded? I'm just not positive what's exactly transpiring here at this point. It's a motion that can't be read, or a resolution that can't be read anyway, and now we're pulling it. I don't quite get, so maybe I'm just a little lost.
The motion to pull it, having received a second, will require a vote. If it passes, then it's pulled. If it fails, then it remains in committee, but it can be subject to another motion. Okay, and another motion may be to proceed with the resolution, and then of course there would have to be a vote. If that was seconded, a vote on that, and then you would get to the merits of the resolution. But the resolution cannot be read until this process
goes forward.
Yes.
So, Mr. Corman, if you don't mind my asking maybe a little more background on what you were hoping to accomplish?
Frankly,
because we didn't really have a committee.
Fair enough. I just wanted to discontinue discussion on it. I think if we try and pass a resolution, we'll spend a lot of time debating, regardless of the direction the resolution goes, we'll spend a lot of time debating the language. And I mean, I heard at committee of the whole that at this point, the council just wanted to get more information about the proposed library designs and didn't want to consider this. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, if I understand the motion that Mr. Corman made, it was to pull it and no further consideration. That means the issue is out of committee, it's off the table, totally, and that accomplishes basically the same thing as if we voted no to put it. So if that's what the issue is that there's no further consideration, and it can always be brought back up. I understand that part of it, but it's off the table for consideration. It's the same as if it came up for a vote and it was voted down, you know. So I don't have any problem with that as long as we emphasize the no further consideration.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Could I get Mr. Barber to clarify the difference between those 2 points that Mr. Person just mentioned? The filling it in committee, but pulling it off the agenda versus up-down vote.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand your question entirely, Councilman Taylor.
Well,
but
the question would be what the motion that Councilmember Corman made, which is to pull it off the agenda and to therefore discontinue any future action on it, versus there being an up and down vote to not de-annex.
Basically, those are your alternatives, looking at them as 2 alternatives. On the motion that's been presently made and seconded, if it's pulled, then it basically goes off of this agenda, and it would be something that would have to be brought forward at a later time. However, if that motion fails, then the matter would have to be addressed. Since there is no committee report that's been adopted, it would have to be addressed on the issue of the motion, whether or not to vote on the resolution. And then if there was a decision made to vote on the resolution, if that passed, then at that point it would have to be read, and then there would have to be a vote taken at that time on the resolution. Does this help?
Yes, I'm clear on that. I'm just trying to split hairs in terms of Mr. Person made a comment as to that having either one having the net same effect, and that is my question to you.
I don't see it as a net same effect. With one, you're pulling it from the agenda, so you're not reaching the merits of the issue. On the second one, if it passes to have the matter considered on the merits of the resolution, then you would have a decision on the merits of that resolution. The important thing to remember, though, is that the issue that about annexing or de-annexing, withdrawing from KCLS, it can be brought at any time. It's just that under the statute that's at issue here, it provides that you have to wait a minimum of 3 years. So earlier in the Committee of the Whole meeting, Councilman Zwicker had made mention that at any time you could bring this issue forward in the future. And the answer to that was correct. You could.
And so,
Mr. Mayor?
just like any other situation, you would need 4 votes to bring it back in front of the council for any additional consideration or action.
Correct.
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
If I may, Mr. Corman, I mean, I guess it's a motion of the council, but I suppose I still run it by Randy. Perhaps an amendment, we may have to vote up and down on this, but I guess, are we trying to say we received a briefing in Committee of the Whole and this matter is concluded and no further action will be taken? As in a sense, our committee report that closes the referral. Is that what you're hoping to achieve with that, Randy?
Yeah, that's well.
And I think that says it, doesn't it?
That's well stated, and I mean, I'd accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion if that was a possibility.
Is that, Mr. Mayor?
I'm not sure it's finished yet.
Is that I don't think really that is an amendment, is it? Do we have to, we're going to have to go up and down on the one and come up, or can we take that as an amendment?
I don't think you can take that as an amendment. You're going to cause confusion in your record. I think you have to have...
my fear. Mr. Mayor? And that's, I was hoping to get a clarification from our city clerk, if possible.
Under council's normal procedure, the item is open in committee, and a committee report would bring it back out of committee. If on a normal circumstance on tonight's agenda, if there was no committee report, then the resolution would not be read. It takes the action of the committee report to trigger reading of the resolution. So that would be what would happen under normal circumstance. It is. If council took no action on the committee report, then there'd be no resolution. The item, however, would stay open in committee until such time that the committee would indeed close it in one manner or another.
Mr. Mayor? Yes. I'm sorry. I'm thinking that I guess what I would offer is the motion currently is, and what is the motion again? It is to remove the resolution from the agenda. That really absolutely has no effect on anything in the big scheme of things.
No, pulling the...
Because it's not on there now.
Technically, yes, that's correct.
So perhaps we should dispose of this motion?
I think Mr. Corman's motion was more than just pulling the resolution. I think he's, and I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth because I didn't write down your motion, but to me it was to remove the topic from committee.
From committee.
Yes, so it is a little bit broader than that.
And so it essentially closes it out of council discussion until it's brought up and voted on by four council members.
Right. And if I may,
sure, Mr. Corman.
And I was hoping it would be a motion that all 7 of us would get behind. That you know, that show some unanimous support.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Zul.
Yeah, if I'm not, we'll definitely have to have a reread of exactly what the motion is. If it is concluding the matter, closing the referral, and no further action to be taken, I can support that. If there's any gray area on that, then I think we need to vote to go one way or another on this motion, then maybe regroup and try another motion or that. But I want a very concluding statement made. If I'm not going to introduce that resolution to be read and have the up-down vote on that resolution, I want a very concluding statement made that this matter is closed, is not an active referral, and that we are taking no further action on it. However we get there, that is what I personally would like to achieve, and I'll need 3 other council members to be able to do it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Person.
I agree with Councilman Zwicker, and maybe we could start this again with a withdrawal of the second and the motion, and then restate the motion in those more...
I will withdraw my motion in favor of what Mr. Zwicker's offered as a motion.
Okay.
Withdraw second.
Second.
Draw the second.
Been moved and second to withdraw Randy Corman's motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Now, you do it, Randy.
Oh, well, gosh, you said it so elegantly. I would move.
Why don't you let Randy? Mr. Mayor. I move that the item in committee of the whole regarding de-annexation from KCLS be concluded and the matter closed with no further action from council.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Corman, that the item of de-annexation be removed from committee of the whole. Any further discussion?
Removed still. Mr. Mayor. Needs to be concluded with no further council action.
We have it on the record.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Taylor.
I just see some people out there in the audience want to make sure that they're real clear, of essentially what this means. It just means that we're just undoing what we started a week ago, and basically, and that, but it doesn't, as Councilmember Corman was concerned, it doesn't take away our state's rights for any future, action. So anyone who, was confused about that because of the back and forth discussion, just need to be aware of that. But essentially, what we're not going to do is put it on the vote to either put it on the ballot or not to put it on the ballot. We're simply just taking it off the agenda with no further, and closing the referral with no further action at this point. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Corman.
Yeah. We did indeed. That was very, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would just say that was very appropriate, since I think 2 weeks ago, Mr. Zwicker made the motion and I seconded it. Caused the whole discussion, so. There we go.
Did you have anything else for business?
No.
I don't believe so, no, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr.
No
Zwicker.
old business.
Yeah, we're in unfinished, I have no unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Breyer.
Yes, the Finance Committee has a report.
Finance Committee report, Meadow Crest Playground Interlocal Agreement. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve an interlocal agreement with the Renton School District for the design, construction, operation, capital, and maintenance costs for a new jointly shared accessible playground. The playground will be co-located on the City of Renton North Highlands Park and Neighborhood Center and the Renton School District Meadowcrest Early Learning Center properties. The term of the agreement will be for 15 years. The city's share of the project is $1.25 million, a portion of which will be funded through private donations, $550,000. The remaining portion, $700,000, will utilize funding from the Parks Impact Mitigation Fund with a transfer to the Capital Improvement Fund. The committee recommends that the resolution regarding this matter be presented for reading and adoption. The committee further recommends that the budget be adjusted to reflect the private contributions and the use of the Parks Impact Mitigation Fund monies. This is signed by the 3 committee members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Breyer.
This is an exciting project. We're going to be seeing it in October. It should be complete, and really great collaboration between the Renton School District and the city. So with that, I'd like to move that council concur with the Finance Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Breyer, seconded by Mr. Zwicker, that we approve the Finance Committee report. Mr. Person.
I just want to echo what Terry's saying, and this is, for those who have been in city a long time, this is a hysterical first event to get this interlocal agreement with the school district, and it's really going to serve our handicapped people and just everybody. But it's just a fantastic thing that I never thought I'd see as long as I was around the city.
It's not the last.
It is a great partnership. I really want to give a lot of kudos to our staff, community services, city attorney. They worked really hard to pull this partnership together, and we got to thank the school district because they jumped on board to be partners. And without this type of cooperation and partnership, these types of things are absolutely not going to happen. So this is a very big deal, and real excited to see it moving forward.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Breyer. Mr. Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Person.
No unfinished business.
Ms. Palmer.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moving on to resolutions and ordinances. We have one resolution and one ordinance for second and final reading.
Okay. The resolution regards the interlocal agreement with the Renton School District. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Renton School District regarding the Meadow Crest Accessible Playground.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
I knew Ms. Breyer was coming.
I know. I thought it was going to be longer than that. I'm sorry. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Breyer.
I move that council concur with the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Breyer, seconded by Mr. Person, that council concur with this resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
It was
That
so
motion
short.
carries. Thank you.
And lastly, one ordinance for second and final reading regards the Animal Regulation Code Amendment. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Sections 664 and 665 of Chapter 6 Animals and Fowl at Large of Title 6 Police Regulations of Renton Municipal Code by amending the language of vicious, adding identifying language, and reducing the penalty for first or second-time offenders to a civil infraction for keeping or harboring animals disturbing any person in the neighborhood by habitual howling, yelping, or other frequent or long continued noise.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Ms. Breyer, that this ordinance be adopted as read, and it requires a roll call.
Mr. Corman?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Zwicker?
Aye.
Ms. Breyer?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Palmer?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor. All ayes.
The ayes have it, thank you. Moving on to new business, Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I know I must, thank you. I know I must have some new business. Let's see. Okay, oh yeah, the exciting one. Okay, so April 15th, I won't even mention that it's tax day. Yeah, we'll be going over the library schematic design and emerging issues at the Committee of the Whole meeting and council chambers at 5:30 p.m. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You bet, thank you. Mr. Taylor.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Zwicker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of items. First, the Planning and Development Committee will be meeting on Monday, April 15th, beginning at 9 a.m. in the council conference room. And there we will have one item, and that is the community plans briefing. The second is, I may ask Mr. Covington to kind of join in. As Randy just called out, we have the library design being rolled out to us at Committee of the Whole on April 15th. We have some council members that will be out, so we won't be at full complement. I'm anticipating, and especially as it's kind of read out there, is we will not be making a decision, any council action on the 15th regarding the library. That flow with the administration's belief?
We're not expecting anything on the 15th.
And I think that jives with the council's
Yeah,
kind of belief?
I think.
I would be ecstatic if they, Casey,
But it's a-
we were all sold.
Yeah, I know, exactly, but
Oh, please let that happen.
we didn't quite call it out that way. So anticipating that we'll need some time, as we've discussed, this is a process that's ongoing. KCLS had their first volley at it, then it's coming to us. We'll need some time to digest it and time to schedule something where all the council members are available. With that, I had mentioned it to the administration, and they can tell me if they disagree. Is our thought, because this is a fifth Monday month, and because the 22nd is also not a day where we'll have all of our council members, is that perhaps we'd want to entertain canceling the meeting on the 22nd, having a council meeting then on the 29th, at which time gives us a couple weeks to prepare, and then we'll actually hopefully have some items where we can kind of go down and vote up and down and decide where really things are and start taking some action from that.
That's certainly an option of the council.
That works with the administration, then I would propose that as a motion to the council, is then to cancel the April 22nd meeting and schedule one for April 29th, with hopefully the goal of doing some library discussion. But I think the simplest motion is just cancel the 22nd and go for the 29th. That'd be my motion.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Person, that council cancel the scheduled April 22nd council meeting and schedule a meeting for the 29th, which is a normal fifth Monday where a meeting was not originally scheduled. Any discussion?
Yeah, just in the way of discussion, I think fundamentally I'm supportive of the idea. But so we would still get the presentation on the 15th.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure what council member, are we going to be missing, we'll be missing, okay, Ms. Breyer won't be here. Would she be able to then review the video or something else to get the...
I am actually going on my first 2-week vacation in about 17 years, so
Okay, well-
I'm going to miss both Mondays at that time. So, but
Okay.
yes, I should be able to watch any of the comment.
Okay, well, I think it is important that we have you involved in the
Yeah.
discussion. So
I would like to be.
And let me ask, are other council members, does anybody plan a vacation for that the fifth Monday?
Nope.
So, okay, well,
We all lead such boring lives.
yeah, it's sad, isn't it, that none of us are. In fact, I'll be in town as well. I suddenly thought that I might be out of town, but no, I'll be here.
Okay.
So, yeah, I will be. So with that, yeah, I think, so it's been moved? And,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So any
supportive.
further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, council. That was all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your consideration.
Ms. Breyer?
Yes, Finance Committee will meet next Monday when I'm not here, but Mr. Person, I'm sure, can handle it. Monday, April 15th at 4:30 p.m. 4 items: vouchers, youth education and safety fair fee waiver request, the 2013 carry forward budget amendment ordinance, and emerging issues in revenue streams.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Prince?
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Person?
The Public Safety Committee for next week, April 15th, has been canceled.
Okay, and Ms. Palmer?
Yes, the Transportation Aviation Committee, normally scheduled for this Thursday, the 11th, has been canceled.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to bring up one thing. Last week at the Communities in School of Renton board meeting, which you had to miss, we had 2 of the liaisons in the schools come, which we do every month, and it was kind of a coincidence what they both brought to tell us. The family liaison from Lake Ridge told us how she has started going to the Somali apartment complex and the Somali Youth Club. She goes there once a month and meets with Somali moms with an interpreter, and is helping break down the barriers that community feels in going to school, and how to work with kids, and how to, even if you don't speak English, it's still important to read to your little ones and so on. So I just thought that was very interesting. And then the academic liaison from Nelson Middle School told us how she goes to a large apartment complex where there are a lot of Hispanic people with a Spanish-speaking interpreter. She goes once a month and is breaking down those same barriers in that population. So I just thought that was something really cool, like our firefighters going out and finding that they're making the effort. Now, both of them said their goal is to start to get these people as comfortable enough that they can start meeting at the school, because the whole point is to make them feel comfortable. But what a great thing to start. So I was really proud of them.
That's good. It's a good plug for CISR, which does great work.
Yeah, they do. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
I know I made you.
Next is audience comment. Is there anybody that wants to address the council?
Howard McComber with the Highlands. I was on Terry's task force back when we were first talking about having the school work with us on doing exactly what they're doing. I think it shows the value of working together and cooperation. We have a fabulous thing going there. I think cooperation was shown tonight here.
Thank you, Howard.
Phyllis Forrester, Renton. I want to give you another little civics lesson on KCLS. KCLS is governed by the state laws. De-annexation is covered by state law, not by Issaquah. So if you want to go to the RCWs or state law, that's where you're going to find everything from reciprocal agreements to de-annexation to what they're supposed to do for us. They serve us. We pay their total bill through our property taxes. So I just want you to keep that in mind. It's not Issaquah. And we need to go to our state legislatures and tell them what is happening. If this is going to continue to happen to us, that KCLS management comes and tells us what we're going to do with our tax dollars. Excuse me, but you need to stand up and be counted. You know, you talk about your integrity being challenged. I feel like mine has. I am so up to hearing how it's just a few people. I've stood out on the corners, and we've signed up 7,000 and some people on petitions. The original vote passed by 50, if that. And you have the audacity to use your bully pulpits to say that we are the few. Now, we're the ones that are going to stand up and be counted, that's for sure. People know who we are. But I am really tired of your integrity being challenged when it's my integrity, my vote, and my tax dollars that are being challenged by you. Because you're not listening to your citizens. And you haven't been since the original vote. So it's time to stand up and be counted. Is it time for KCLS to run this show? Is it time for whoever set up that Big Five thing and whatever was supposed to happen downtown? Was that what's supposed to happen? Forget that. That isn't what the people want. And we voted and voted on it. And I'm tired of not being looked at and paid attention to when I'm talking to council members and the mayor. So please have the courtesy to acknowledge that those of us who have been coming here now since the beginning are representing a heck of a lot of people. A large number of people. And I don't know what transpired here with the de-annexation or whatever. I don't know what that was all about. But if you took it off the board already, that's slimy to me. So think about what you're doing, because we're watching. And listen, because we've been talking for a long time.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Corman.
Well, I would just like to clarify for anyone that did watch without maybe watching the Committee of the Whole, and I don't remember if Ms. Forster was here for the Committee of the Whole meeting, but we in Committee of the Whole, we discussed that we recognize that the state has given the city the power to call for an election for de-annexation if we so desire. And there was a determination during the discussion of the Committee of the Whole that it was premature to go that direction, that there was no council members felt that it was called for right at this juncture, that there's an understanding that KCLS is bringing forward designs next week, and we've even heard that I passed along the rumor that I'd heard one of those designs was going to use the full footprint of the building. And so really what we did was we pulled the resolution from further discussion at this time about de-annexation, and so it doesn't, it neither leaves it on the table nor does it preclude it, and consistent with Ms. Forrester's comments, it remains an option for the city of Renton, just like it is for every other city that's part of KCLS.
My name is Paul Olette, Renton resident for over 40 years. And Mr. Mayor, I promise not to take 10 minutes. My wife is here, but she's not going to speak. I spent quite a considerable amount of time since the, I won't bore you with the details of this, okay, but it's a spreadsheet of the analysis between the 219 budget that was submitted by KCLS to the city by a request of Mr. Peter Renner. And I also have here, and this is the analysis of the site development and the construction costs versus the two separate submittals. And this is the analysis of the of the difference between the additional costs, owner costs that are projected in the by KCLS. Okay, rather than go into the details, I'll just show you a few bullet points here of what my evaluation is. And by the way, I spent a lot of time doing this because I did that as a professional for all my life. Okay, now I won't send you a bill for this, but I request, my strong request is that please have someone give you an independent audit or an independent analysis by an independent consultant to tell me that this is wrong. I urge Jay and Mr. Covington to really consider that, you know, and so that you have someone in your camp that really understands these numbers and what they mean, okay? Basically, the prior allocation of the budget, we have shown significant adjustments of the off-site development funds. You've heard some of this before, but now it's very significant here between the two that were presented on February and the one that was presented by KCLS on the 26th of March, okay? Primarily what happened here is they must have heard either what we said at the trustees meeting, or maybe they heard what Mr. Corman suggested at one of the council meetings, that the off-site work for roads and development were not appropriate because they took it out. Okay, they took out They deleted the off-site development version, including the improper construction cost of exterior signage and contingencies. They increased the construction cost of $356,000, okay? Now, that was added construction cost was reflected in their own estimate that was presented, okay? Somebody said it was very complicated and very detailed. It was not. Basically, what it was is the same that they had on 219 with some adjustments, and they attached their own estimate, which had a lot of details. They added $17,000 for a total of, listen to this one here, $318,000 for a 5% exterior signage contingencies. I beg you to question this kind of number. This is obviously, to me, a slush fund and has no basis in the state guidelines, okay? They added a category of additional contracts of $50,000. That also was an obvious slush fund with no obvious rationale to add this line item to construction costs. It makes no sense. They deleted $626,000 for the off-site development. That's what I talked about earlier. $300,000 for road, $300,000 for streets, and so on. The cost was invalid in the 219, the budget. It was reallocated to various fictional categories in the 326 category. I beg you to start questioning this kind of stuff. Also included in the off-site development was $150,000 for water main and fire hydrant. Elements of these costs are included in the road estimate. What's the $150,000 got to do with this? Absolutely nothing. The cost of that hydrant and water main is already in the road estimate. They increased the cost of owner's additional consultant of $220,000 for a total of $1 million, not counting permits, project management, surveying, and soil boring. Those are all appropriate, but the other consultant costs, they came up with some new ones that they did not have before. That's what's shown in this total detail. And please have someone analyze this thing and be willing to pay them a fee to analyze it and give you the right information. Because somebody said tonight, if we go through a bigger facility, we'll need an extra $1 million or $2 million. A lot of it is in here. It's already there in your $8 million, okay? Pay attention to that, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I want to just add a couple of things to what Paul said. I would agree that it might seem best.
Did you state your name and city on the record?
I don't know who I am.
Please do.
I'm sorry, David Keyes, K-E-Y-E-S, Renton. Going through the estimate that they provided on 326 is much like going through a claim for additional fees from a crooked contractor. And all the earmarks are there. Mr. Person, I think you will want to take a very good look at this, or have someone from the outside that has this kind of capability do this. I think you would be foolish. I think the council would be irresponsible not to do that. The estimate, the main issues that we've looked at that are really easily questioned are in the portion of the estimate, again, that was done by Greg Smith's staff at KCLS. And they are repeatedly double dipping. Those are some of the kind of fictional categories that Paul was talking about. They still have a total design consultant allocation of over 25% of the construction allocation. Now, very interestingly, in the presentation on the 26th, when that was brought up, Ruth Baleko, the architect from Miller Hall, was standing at the front at that time, and she was really taken aback. And she spun around to Greg and pointed out that their fees, which at least include all of their subconsultants, only came to 11%. She wasn't sure where this other number came from. Well, the other number comes from where KCLS is placing monies that they want to have control over. And by doing that, they keep the money out of the construction portion of the budget. They have been using that to keep the 5 million contained and small, and then tell you that we can't afford a full library. It may be necessary to add some other funds, but I don't think you want to do that without very careful consideration of the kind of estimating that's going on. And I do need to add one other thing. In the presentation on the 26th, had a bit of an exchange with the representative from Rowan, the cost estimator that's doing the construction cost portion of the estimate. And I told him I didn't have any problem at that time with what they'd been doing for that portion of the estimate, that my concerns were primarily with KCLS. In this newest estimate, the one that was provided on the 26th, there are some rather startling things in the construction portion of the estimate. Although there's considerably more demolition now in the scheme that was presented, at least on the 26th, than there was in their scheme last summer when they were building up to the $13.1 million letter. They've actually reduced the amount of money for demolition by 20%. It'd be going the other way. So there's some holes being left in the construction estimate as well. That is the kind of thing that comes back to haunt you either at the time of bid or with change orders later. And I think you need to be very careful about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
Mr. Willett and Mr. Keys have continually brought up some budgetary questions, and you know, we set policy as a council, we don't look at the line item on a budget. And while I have absolutely every confidence that the administration and our staff will go over the budget looking for irregularities and taking in the comments that are made, and I don't really think it needs to be said, but it may be appropriate that we as a council want to say that, make sure that we understand that and potentially just a floor motion that says it's important to us as a council that the administration looks very closely at this budget. And because it is important to us. It's just, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be able to look and argue that number because I'm not at the negotiating table. I'm a policymaker. So with that, I think I will go ahead and offer up a motion that the administration take full review and consideration of all budgetary numbers contained in the library design for both libraries.
Second.
So it's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, second by Ms. Breyer, that council, or excuse me, the administration review all of the financials of the KCLS construction and other work.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Crowe.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea as well. And if possible, I've looked at some of the spreadsheets myself, and sometimes it's confusing what the numbers are. And our finance department's outstanding at putting expenditures into language that we understand. And I wonder if part of that review can be sort of filling in some of those comments so that we and any citizen that looks at it understands specifically what the specific funds are for. And I think that actually works well with schematic design. Recognizing that that the design has been evolving, so perhaps the estimating has been evolving, but as we start to close in on a design, we should really all, I think, understand what those line items are, and I agree with the motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
And I would add to that because there's been, and we're fortunate to have, and I agree, serving on the Finance Committee, I'm aware of our staff and their ability to present us with information in a professional way. I'd like to just add that since it is the people who have been of our community, Mr. Ouellette, Mr. Keys, who's done some others, have done some extensive discovery of information that they have questions about, I would welcome the opportunity for them to take part in some of the conversations with our staff. I think that would give them opportunity to point out some of the inconsistencies that they have identified, that maybe there can be some further clarification on, just for a better understanding and maybe enlightenment. So, Madam Clerk, would that come in the form of a friendly amendment?
No, but it could be, you could make a motion to amend.
Okay. Why don't, if I could, Mr. Mayor, we certainly have heard the councilman, and I think our staff, I was just thinking we'll have, ideally, KCLS will present a schematic design and an accompanying budget for you to begin consideration. We'll then have now 2 weeks before the council will actively begin to deliberate on that, I would think. So that gives us time to take into consideration what's been said tonight, as well as some of the information that we received previous. We certainly absolutely want to, we take serious our obligation to make sure that the dollars are allocated correctly and spent wisely, and so I think within those guidelines, we can see if there's an opportunity for us to put together, I think per Councilman Corman's request, an interpretation that is easier to understand, and we can do that while touching base with some of the citizens who provided information for us, and some specific areas that they want us to watch, and check back with them and explain to them what we're seeing and see if we're both seeing the same thing. So
Okay.
we'll try to have that done by the 29th, is it?
Correct.
Yes.
If I may.
Any further, now just a second, any further discussion on the motion?
Well, I think I just would like to add that as I think about it, I appreciate the line items, and would just like to see maybe things itemized a little bit too. For instance, if there's $300,000 in signage, to me that strikes me like a 90-foot tall IKEA sign or something. But if maybe with prices being what they are, maybe somebody can explain specifically what kind of a sign that purchases, sort of an engineer's estimate of the types of signs that we're talking about for $300,000, that kind of thing.
So Mr. Mayor, if I may, being the maker of the motion, I would still kind of like to keep the motion in a sense as is, which is setting policy and setting direction that we have an expectation as council to that administration will carefully review. And that was my motion. That's what I kind of like to keep it at. I think Randy's suggestions and everything for what we'd like to see on the 29th are completely valid, and I want to see those also. Okay. But I think for the record, to make sure that we've heard the audience comment on this, to be perfectly clear, that we have that expectation of administration is to carefully review all of the financials, and then all of the things that Greg would like to see and that type of stuff. They can just do that as a matter of course. It doesn't necessarily need to be a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
And I don't have any problem with that, as I have heard our Administrative Officer, Mr. Covington, say explicitly that that would happen, that there would be some engagement during this process with the members of the community, and I think that's what the expectation would be. Is that correct, Mr. Covington? Okay. I'm okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Keys, if you want to get back in line here, if you have more comments on that, okay. Go ahead.
Pleasure. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to hear what Mr. Keys.
Yeah,
I know
that's what
he's.
There's other people waiting first, though.
Yes, hi, Richard Bray, and I live here in Renton. I just want to say thank you, Mayor Law, and each of you council members. We heard about the fire department hard thing during this month of February. I am a member of St. Anthony's Parish, and I saw two really special things that the city helped to sponsor. And I do thank you, Mayor Law, and again, each one of you council members individually for your part in doing that. As we heard about the heart awareness. I saw the fire department at 2 of the masses at St. Anthony's in the morning. My daughter was involved doing a fund collecting project. She's doing something to help the migrant children in Yakima. So we just observe people coming and the professionalism of our fire department. So thank you for that. Secondly, the other thing I've observed that night at St. Anthony, including the fire department that was still late for the 7 p.m. Mass at St. Anthony's. They were even there all day, even for that last Mass. St. Anthony was also hosting the Arise program for our homeless men here in Renton. And again, that's something that the city sponsors, and again, Mayor Law and council members, I really appreciate the city's commitment. So 2 wonderful things happened in partnership with St. Anthony's Parish. And I observed that, and I thank you for that, and I commend you for that. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Kathy Osenkop, Renton resident. I've been going over your City of Renton website on the library news. And I correlate this with the marriage we have with the King County Library System and the experience we have with that marriage. And on page 2, the first paragraph, it says, why would we build 2 libraries and give them to KCLS? And it talks about turning over the libraries and their maintenance and their operation to this facility, this organization, King County Library System. And my concern as a taxpayer is, what if there is a failure in the maintenance that KCLS promises, and we've given our buildings to them, and they have deficiencies, and then in the end, they can't be utilized as a library anymore, and we get them back? I think you really need to look at the ILA or whatever kind of agreement that you draw up with the library system. Personally, as a taxpayer of Renton, and a Renton, I believe the libraries, if I'm paying for it, it's my asset, and I want the city of Renton to maintain it. I don't want KCLS to take over the maintenance of the building. I want to be sure that it's taken care of. And I'm not quite sure I would be with KCLS. I've seen and experienced their inability to communicate. I have seen it at the meeting, and I believe they have a serious issue. I believe the people we're married to, they manage over 45 libraries. I believe they specialize in little libraries, little community libraries with communities of small citizens. They have never taken on a city the 7th size in the state of Washington, a library system this big. This is a new experience for them. They aren't used to it. They don't get it. They need somebody here in the city management somewhere to guide their hand, to be our representative, to be something, because they don't get it. And then you need to look at page 6 on your website as well. Would I have a chance to comment on how the new libraries look? Just read that for yourself. And then you'll know where I'm coming from. And about the annexation, this is the reason why I'm concerned about the need to de-annex, because of how this agreement is written up, and because we're giving taxpayer money away for King County Library System to manage. And can they do it? And what if they don't? And I already hear from people in the Newcastle area about the maintenance issues on the new building. And there are several. And they're coming up on a regular basis. What's going to happen then? We paid, they did it, they organized it, they looked at the construction of it. I mean, I think we're asking for a whirlwind of issues if we continue with this kind of an arrangement. And we've lost control. And when you lose control and you decentralize, you have more issues, more communication issues, more problems. And then I look at their list of site selections. Now I look at this list on your website, how KCLS decides on the site selection. Community needs is number 10 on their list, okay? So again, the community needs, the community goals, not looked at. So now I want to mention something about the Highlands Library and the Highlands Library location, because I've been here and talked about that before. And this is also some reason why the site selection up there was a big push by KCLS to be on a retail storefront. And it really doesn't meet the needs of the citizens of Renton. The citizens of Renton could do very well with the library in the current location. It increased its by 42% once we got more hours in that library up there. Consider that location and expanding on that location. And I've talked with other people who own the land around that library, and it's possible that you could do some type of a land enrichment, land change. And it takes away the horrible traffic issues of Highway 900 and all the travel issues around the retail section and all the parking issues around the housing section where you plan to do this wonderful housing for the low-income people. So just think about that. Talk to the people that own the land in that area. KCLS was a big power person in that location. Maybe they don't need to be. Maybe you need to think about this. Thanks.
Strangely enough, Kathy reminded me of something. Under the annexation agreement, KCLS is responsible for operations, maintenance,
Would you state
housekeeping,
your
and
name again?
groundskeeping. Oh, I'm Beth Asher, Renton. I live right up on Renton Hill. Anyway, KCLS is responsible for the entire maintenance of the library, and what Kathy said reminded me that when we watched their presentation, they were very quick to show us maintenance issues, like leaking pipes. Well, shame on them. What kind of a tenant is that? They should be taking care of what they are contractually obligated to. Until such time as we all come to agreement and build a new library, renovate the one we have, maybe put one up in Benson Hill, whatever. But regardless, again, they have a contract. They're obligated to do operations, maintenance, groundskeeping, housekeeping. So if they show us pictures like that, then again, shame on them. It's their fault. And now I'd like to go extremely far out of the box and probably out of everyone's comfort zone and suggest that we have an independent auditor or the state auditor's office go over these estimates with someone who's very experienced on construction issues, go over our budget, perhaps delve into our own books, and see what irregularities there might be, someone who is not beholden to us, someone who is not beholden to KCLS, someone entirely independent. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just clarification for the audience. There are two agreements. The initial agreement, the 2009 agreement, I believe, calls for the maintenance of the two existing libraries. Again, it was an interim situation until we build new libraries. Under that agreement, KCLS does provide for basically what you call daily maintenance up to a certain dollar amount. The city is still obligated for major maintenance on those facilities, and that was to reflect the fact that we'd owned those buildings for a number of years, and really just to get at some of these systems that we're improving. So we are watching that closely, but KCLS has, to date at least, done a good job of handling the day-to-day maintenance, and we've been in there on the major maintenance issues. These are system replacement needs. You get to the point where you've got useful life beginning to end, so an HVAC system, the overall plumbing system, other things start to degrade. So that's what we're doing.
David Keys, Renton, thank you for letting me speak in. I'll keep it really brief. I appreciate that this body is supposed to be setting policy. No disagreement on that at all. But once the policy is set, we don't necessarily hear all of the things that are going on to carry that policy forward. And I'm not going to suggest we're going to hear everything. That said, we've been pointing out issues with KCLS estimates for some time. And to my knowledge, city staff have not been asked to review that themselves. And I'm not sure they're capable of it at this point. That is, and I don't mean to be offensive to the city staff. What I'm suggesting is I really do think it needs to be an outside independent auditor who either has construction auditing experience in-house or can subcontract for that. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do find that offensive to city staff, and I can't let that go unchallenged. If city staff at all feels that they needed extra help or something exceeded their expertise, they would come to us and say that they needed to hire somebody, and we would hire that. I sure as heck not from the top down going to question them and tell them they need some sort of extra auditor. And I guess audience comment is just going to go on and on and on tonight. As is typical, we debate the same point over and over again. But I found that statement offensive.
I'd like to address Mr. Schweiker's comment, okay? No offense to you, Mr. Schweiker, okay? Or the city staff.
It's Zwicker.
Schweiker, okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, not to
my
me.
name is Paul, my name is Olette, okay? And I'm not, take exception to your statement, okay? Because I've seen what happened before. The reason that you got a budget breakdown on 219 was because we requested it, because the city staff had not requested it, okay? And that's the reason that you got the breakdown in the first place. And that's why KCLS found that they had some mistakes in there. They had some obvious stuff. And then they changed it on 326. Okay, I give them credit for that, but they still buried it just the same. And I don't take, I'm not questioning Mr. Peter Renner or Vic or Chip or any of those people and stuff, but I suggest that an independent, someone that is not party to the staff or the council and so on, could give you a better evaluation. Thank you very much.
I'm Mark Martinez. I live in the Renton Highlands. I came here last time, I think in February, and I'm kind of disappointed because I invited all of the council members to my Cub Scouts Pinewood Derby, and I even made you guys a bet that if you have a car and you bring it and you beat me, I'd buy you lunch. And you should have came because I had some manufacturing defects in my car when I built it. So, but I just wanted to give a quick report out here on my Scouts. I don't know if this is going to show. Is that? Can you see that? Down. You can kind of see. I had 15 racers, including two sisters who raced. They had some really cool cars. You can kind of see their cars there, and a lot of really cool creativity. I had one boy made his car completely all by himself. I had another boy who...
I want to know how you kept the dads out of there. That's
I had another boy who I showed him how to use properly use a bandsaw in my garage, safety goggles and all this stuff. And right as he started cutting his car, the bandsaw blade broke.
As they do.
So he had to cut his car by hand with a coping saw that I had. So a lot of good, hard effort went into these cars, and you can see there is a good picture of the cars. So get rid of the glare. There you go. A lot of I had a parent leave, so that was a family moved to Idaho. I don't know. What is this? Can we get better resolution on this or something? No, maybe not. But I am very proud because the boy right there on the left, as you're looking at it, without the hat, is mine, and he won third place in the race in his first Pinewood Derby car. The tall boy in the middle, it was his last race as a Cub Scout, and he won first place. And they moved to Idaho, and he made his parents stay to February 2nd so he could participate in the Pinewood Derby race. He wasn't going to let his parents move without being able to. And he won first place, so good for that guy. So.
Did you buy him lunch?
Well, I got him a trophy. So he did a good job. We had 15 racers, including some siblings, and we all had a good time. So I just wanted to give a quick report out on that. We are doing in the first weekend of June a water bottle rocket launch. 2 2-liter bottles turned into a air-propelled, pressurized, compressed air. Launches them up about 150 feet. So it's a really cool deal. If you guys want to come out to that and maybe make your own bottle, you will get wet. but it is a ton of fun. So I invite you guys to all come out. I can give you some more information about that.
The Renton Airport's coordinated the no-fly.
Yeah. Well, so I tell the boys that I went to NASA and got them the water bottle rocket launcher launch pad, and so it's just a good way to build interest in science and creativity and manufacturing and stuff like that. So
He's going to wait till after the Renton Tower closes.
Bite your tongue.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, Julie Abraham from Renton. Just real quick. The idea of an independent auditor is so offensive. I'm wondering why that is, why it's so offensive. Perhaps it just makes me wonder, what are you protecting?
What's the will of the council?
Move adjourn.
Moved and second that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.